time to do a rig review.
Rig review is my favorite thing ever. And we're going to do that right now. Now.
Cool. Now?
Now.
Not later.
No.
Now.
Right now.
Okay, let's do it.
Hey guys, rig review time, and we're kind of going back in time.
Yeah, we are.
Except I'm confused. So this is new, but it's old at the same time.
Yes. It's almost like a Frankenstein.
It is. It's like back from the dead.
Yeah, or that's what I mentioned in my last video. I don't know what to call this, Frankenstein or a phoenix, because it is back from death.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah, that's so funny. So this started out as my build in 2009. If you can imagine, this thing is still going after all those years.
And all those scratches and paint missing is from you.
That is my fault, and I had a lot of fun with this rig. This started out as a CrossCanyon Ultimate Combo, but I used to have the metalhead steel axles under it. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then the rig turned into a few other things, but in the process I realized that there was a lot of benefit to making a really light steel tube cage. It was strong. I had a lot of fun with it. You couldn't damage it. Obviously I took a lot of paint off, but the rig was super fun to drive, and it wasn't top heavy. And I thought when I finally took it apart and I used the metal heads for the Tacoma and I did a bunch of other changes, I realized, you know what, there's no way I can get rid of this cage. Like I had so much fun with this rig, I thought it has to be saved. So it was been hanging on the roof for a long time, and a few months ago Francois picked it up and thought, hey, what's this? I can turn this into something great.
I can play with that. You
can. And obviously you did, and I really like the changes that you made, so we should talk about this.
Yeah, it's the same but a little bit different.
So it's the same cage, and you put a CrossCanyon back under it, right?
Yes, I did. And I actually took your original tires that you had, because you actually modified these tires.
Yeah, that's right. These are J Concepts RockX, which used to be a 2.2 tire.
Yeah.
And we had them chopped, took out about that much tire, and then glued them back together, and they fit real nice on a 1.9 wheel.
And what's the reason? Why is the reason you did that?
Well, they were too big.
They were too big?
I wanted a tire that was wide, that had lots of good traction and paddle action and flotation on the loose mud, snow and stuff. But
and because it went smaller, I think it made the profile shorter also and made it look even wider.
Yeah, I think it did too, and they're nice and juicy. There's a lot of tire there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And of course, you guys know from the comp scene from years ago that the J Concept RockX is a really sticky, really nice tread tire. It's even actually labeled as directional, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know the technology behind it, but
a quick question about legality.
Yeah.
Like if I bring this on a comp, are those legal tires to use on a 1.9 truck, because they were 2.2s?
It's a good question, and the answer is if you have rules that specify that you can't have modified tires in 1.9, then these don't qualify.
Okay.
If you have an open class run, like you're doing Adventure Series, or you're doing something that doesn't have a tire class rule, and then away you go. But in this case, these tires cannot be used for like a Sorca comp class or a Recon G6 1.9. Can't use it.
And this would be considered as what? Class 1, Class 2, Class 3? What it would be considered at?
Except for the tire, it would end up being, you could do Class 1 if you had the right size of tire that was scale.
Okay, even though there's no bumper, but the whole frame is a bumper basically.
Yeah, well it's a full frame, and you do have what would be called tube bumpers that are as wide as the windshield. So in a lot of ways, you could turn this into Class 1 really easy.
Just by changing the tires and putting legal tires.
Yeah, I think probably just by doing legal tires. And you may have to go over the rule book and make sure, but you got a lot of opportunity here, especially because it's wide body. You've got fender coverage.
Yes, I do. And I got places to put accessories also. So either on top, because this is so light. All the weight is actually from here down, so it's crazy. The only thing is here is just too big, so it really makes it light on top.
So let's just imagine that this rig is actually see-through. Can you show us where the components are inside the truck now? Because there's no tranny in the middle. I mean, there's a guy in there, and he's got an open floor, so there's lots and lots of room in the middle.
So in the front, I have the motor and the servo, and that's pretty much the only thing in the front. And I do have a second servo under the dash.
Aha, I remember that.
So the second servo under the dash is for actually the steering wheel. So when I turn right, the steering wheel actually turns right.
You did a build series on this truck, didn't you?
Yes, there's
on your
about
channel?
5 video of the build series, including running videos.
Link below.
I did not put the arm yet. The arm is kind of heavy to turn because it does have to go up and down. And I just feel bad about chopping his arm and putting rope to make sure it moves easy like that. I haven't found the heart yet. But right now the steering wheel does turn. But his hand, I keep his hand low. It's as if he's driving. He's driving with his arm on the bottom of the steering wheel. So back to the components. Motors, servo, small servo there, and everything else is at the back. Batteries at the back, and ESCs at the back, and also the receivers at the back.
Well, you hit it all really well. I mean, you can't see anything. There's no wiring on the truck. It's really clean.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice.
And even at the bottom, you can't see the wire going from the motor to the front.
Nice.
So from the back to the motor, you can't see it because everything is hiding.
You have a little sleeve there all the way down. You can see it all wrapped up. That'll keep the sticks from ripping off your servo plugs and stuff. That's good.
And one thing I've modified that you did not have on this before is actually the side panels.
That's correct.
So what I did is I did the rear fenders that actually folds and come up to the front.
Yeah.
The first version I did had a full panel going all the way to the front, but I basically didn't like it because it's as if it didn't have a door. So I was debating on drawing a door to make believe the door opens and closes. And then I started looking at some pictures and saw some of the little RazR buggies or had some netting as a door. So I said I can do that very easily. So
looks good. Did you have to make the netting
with the stretching? Yeah. So I made the netting, and again on my video series, the last video series of this build, there's the how-to video of how I actually built that netting.
Awesome.
So it's actually glued only on top, bottom, and the sides, but all the rest, all the middle, is all loose. So and it does stretch.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see how it's going to perform in the trail, and if I hit a rock or whatever, it comes off, I'll just have to put it back on. Right now it's only glued at the back. Tie wrap holds it in front, and the bottom is actually loose.
Cool.
So if it does hang on something. Debating on getting those, there's little, in sewing you can get those little tiny, not thumbtacks, but they almost are. To use them in closing to hold the close.
Yeah.
So I'm debating on putting some on the bottom here, just to hold it, or just leave it that way. So
neat.
And I think it really looks nice when the fender at the back really wraps and comes around.
Yeah, it looks cool.
I also did a floor at the back, so the floor comes from here. So I haven't painted it yet, but I probably could put some Mac tack or something to make it look black, or a Hunter thing. From the front all the way up to the seat. I got a floor on it, so you probably can see that in the glare of the camera.
Yes.
There's a piece of plexiglass that goes all the way to the front.
Yep.
And this is where my ESC and my receiver sits, and my battery.
Cool.
And at the back, you came up with that idea. This comes off.
There you go.
And this is where the battery hides.
I was just going to ask you that.
What I did also is I put a piece of Velcro to actually hold the battery, so the battery doesn't pop up in case of a rollover. And that will happen.
Handy. Yes, and rollovers will happen.
So.
Nice. Nicely done.
And I basically build it with some of the stuff I had. So at the bottom I have plastic links.
Perfect.
Just SCX10 plastic links that I had laying around. And maybe in the future I probably will update it to metal links. But we'll see how things goes and where this thing brings me.
So you did Droop suspension on it too, which I already know. I'm a huge fan of Droop suspension. I had the same setup on this rig before.
It's my first setup for Droop, and I actually called you on it and asking you, because you're the one that gave me the springs for the shocks, and I was saying, how can this work? The shocks, when you build a shock, they're actually pulled in all the way and they don't come out. How can a shock work like that? And you actually mentioned to me that because the way where the shocks are, it acts like a cantilever.
It does. You get that lever action on the suspension links, and the wheel will push up and the other shock goes out. Instead of this shock going up, the opposite shock goes out. It's really cool. And it works really, really good. I love Droop suspension. I just love it. I love it. I love it.
Now, Droop suspension is not meant for racing.
Absolutely not.
So it's meant more for crawling.
Yep.
And you see that, I think you see that a lot in comp crawlers.
Yep.
They're all set up, they're really low to the ground, and
yep.
And then they just stretch. This does not have a lot of stretch. Well, it's got about an inch and a half of travel.
Yep.
And to me, that's enough to get in trouble into the rocks. So.
And besides which, it's always, the Droop is always pulling the body weight down. So instead of the truck climbing up a hill, you know what I mean, and then it like starts to lift the suspension under traction,
yes.
You don't have that issue anymore. So the body stays flat, it stays where it's supposed to be as best as it possibly can, and if the rocks are in the way, then you end up with some suspension travel instead. So it's definitely a good setup for low speed. You don't want to use it for high speed because there's no compression on the shocks at all, but that's a fantastic performance on the rocks.
And another thing I did at the back for the receiver is an old way, and I nobody talks about it anymore, but to waterproof your receiver.
Yep.
I did the old-fashioned way, which is use a balloon.
Balloons work good.
So basically, I just took a balloon, it's a round balloon, opened it up, had my 2 fingers in it, and dropped my receivers right in it, pulled it back, and put a tie wrap farther up, and
yep.
It's because the tie wrap holds everything and all the wires together.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of water, or no water can get into that. It's,
not really.
it's waterproof. Not a lot of people use that method anymore. Everybody's using plasti dip. Everybody's using that, but this is plain simple and fast.
And it's easy to service. If you have to get in there, you can just pull the tie wrap off, and then it's all dry and clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nicely done. And did you hook up these lights in the front?
Yeah, the lights are working. I did get another set of lights for it. It's got the tail lights and all that, but I was debating on putting them up here. But I want to find more buckets like this. So I'm just waiting to find some more buckets. It's got the front headlights, but because the way the front headlight, the way this hood is, if I take the hood off, I don't want the lights to be in the way. So again, here I'm waiting to find probably a bucket light to put actually on the front bumper.
Yeah.
So the buckets would be on the bumper like that. If I do any work, I pop the lid off. I don't have to worry about lights or wires.
Good idea. Yep. That looks fantastic. I like it a lot.
And this one I got a 55 turn motor into it. So.
Nice. Yeah, so there's already a running video on this thing, right?
Yeah, in the snow.
Nice.
So I was pretty amazed on how it did, because it's trying to climb the hill and then you see it dig itself in.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh man, it's going to be stuck now. But no, as soon as I hit the reverse, it just like came right back out. I was pretty surprising on the performance of the tires in the snow. But
it's quite light still, actually. There's not a lot of weight to this thing, and it's very, very low weight. So I bet you the performance is pretty good. I loved driving it myself when I had it.
I can't wait to try it on the rocks and
very nice.
It's fun and see how it actually performs.
So what did you use for ESC? You have 55 turn in the front, and what speed control?
The speed control is a new Axial 5, the
AE5?
AE5, yes.
Oh yeah, good.
So up to 3S, it's got brakes, and it's got low voltage. So
yeah, that's all you need.
Found that at Dollar Hobbies. Right now they're the one that has a pretty good price on that. You can find some all over the place, like on eBay or whatever. You can find some all over the place.
So then tires are J Concepts modified, and you have axial rims. The axial SCX10 axles are under it.
That is correct.
The shocks are from where?
The shocks are SCX10 shocks also.
Okay.
But
with the
no spring, no nothing. I didn't even put the little canister in front of that shock.
Yeah, yeah.
That little canister, I didn't put it there because I just didn't think it belonged there, because I was setting it up differently. So.
And then the frame is GCM CrossCanyon.
Yes.
With the transfer case and the front motor mount, servo mount as well. And you put a Panhard kit on it, right?
And there's a Panhard kit on it also.
Yeah. Nice. So. Custom cage and all your own accessories. You found a little tiny servo for the steering wheel as well.
I had to modify your old steering. I have it at home that you had in there, and it's actually shorter. So I had to extend the pipe and bring the pipe longer. Again, on my video built, there's a series on there that actually shows me how I did the steering and how I actually hooked up that pipe. That pipe is actually just right on to the...
right on the servo end.
Yeah, the servo end. So there's no gears, there's no nothing. It's right on the servo. The servo is a 0.8 ounce servo, so you don't need strength to turn the steering wheel.
No. I think that's enough. I use little tiny servos like that in my Jeeps and stuff too. They work great for steering.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, that's a good looking build.
Thank you.
There's a link below for all the information on this build, and he did a fantastic job setting this up. So thank you very much for making use of this fantastic rig again. I know you and your son are going to have a riot ripping this around on your awesome trails that you have.
Yeah, and he asked me when I finished building it, he says, "Papa, is it fast?" I go, "No, it's not fast." And he looked at me and goes, "Good." He's 5 and he understands that too much speed is bad because you do flip and you do crash, but he really likes the crawling and having fun with them. So we enjoy going out.
Well, it looks like you did a great job rebuilding this old rig.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing more video on the channel called The Tank.
Yeah.
And thanks guys for watching this rig review, and I hope there's some ideas here that inspire you guys to keep going. And if you need any help with your builds or stuff, make sure you ask Francois something on his channel. He's got lots of good information over there, and he loves to help out people with their questions, so send a note over there. You can always send a note here in the comments to this channel, and we'll try to get you set up with somebody who has the answers, and hopefully we'll have another rig review here really soon.
Well, see you later. Thanks.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.